Welcome back to Amazonia, and we're here for our final session of our online learning sessions. So each week we've been learning about tropical rainforests. We've more so probably looked at South America because we focus on the Amazon being Amazonia. And we've gone through the layers of the rainforest, met various animals, talked about the nighttime animals, and also talked about the threats to the rainforest. So with this being our last session, we thought we would have just a really interactive session meeting some of the creatures that we've not come across yet. So in Amazonia, we do have a few animals that maybe aren't from the rainforest, aren't from South America as well, and are just really good for interacting with and showing people closely, even usually when there's not a pandemic, having people hold them and experience that themselves as well. So you'll see I've got some rather large insects in my hand. So the first creature that I thought I'd bring to meet you today are some Madagascan hissing cockroaches. Now, one was just hissing on my hand there as well. Don't know if you can pick that up. It's hissing a little bit. I'll explain why they do that in a sec. But first of all, every week we've been looking at the world map and pinning on the animals that we've been meeting quite closely and seeing where they're from, where they would live in the wild. So, being called Madagascan hissing cockroaches hopefully gives you a clue as to where their natural habitat is. And it is over here on the continent of Africa. We've got this island here. This is Madagascar. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, have seen the animated film Madagascar. So it is based on this island. It is a real place and it's full of lots of rainforest. Now, these cockroaches, they are from Madagascar. And also in their name is the word hissing. So like I say, you may be able to hear it hiss. And the reason it does that is just to sound a little bit scary. Now, they're not scary at all. They're not dangerous. They can't suddenly attack me or bite me or anything. So the best thing they can do in the wild is to look after themselves, is either camouflage, hide really well, run fast if possible, and also maybe pretend to be scary. So they're making this hissing noise, like a very short hissing noise, makes them sound like a scary snake. So if other animals were near to them, came across them and heard that noise, hopefully they're going to keep those other animals away, because the cockroaches are going to be quite a popular dinner to most things that like to eat insects. So that's why they make the scary noise. They've also got fairly scary looking legs. So being insects, they've got 6 legs. And if you can see closely, they've got quite spiky looking legs. So this makes them look a little bit more vicious, a bit more dangerous. Now, sitting on me now, or however I hold them, they can't hurt me with those legs. It's just a look. So they sound scary and they look scary, but they're not really. They're just pretending to look after themselves. So in Madagascar, where these cockroaches live, they are actually like a little recycler of the rainforest. So we're all told and hopefully encouraged to recycle things all the time. Well, naturally in the rainforest, lots of animals will recycle, particularly those that live down near or on the forest floor. So the cockroaches, their diet is pretty much anything. They will feast on any organic matter, so anything that they can get their little mouth parts into. If I try and show you now little mouth parts just at the base of its head. The head's this triangular section at the front and tiny little mouth parts at the base of that. So we feed ours lots of fruits and veg. They've also got leaves in their enclosure to mimic the forest floor as well. So on the forest floor, they will eat any sort of old leaf litter that's dropped there, fallen fruits, leaves. They'll eat anything they come across, even things like animal poo. So they'll eat very strange things, things that we wouldn't want to eat in our bodies, things we wouldn't get nutrition from, but they are able to eat any organic matter. So once they've eaten that, when it comes out the other end as their poo, that then goes back into the rainforest soil and helps fertilise for the plants and the trees to take up as nutrients. So a great little helper to the rainforest as what they eat goes in and then as it comes out as a fertiliser. Cockroaches in general as well are one animal that really can survive all sorts of things. They're thought to be able to survive nuclear bombs, survive so many days without their head attached to their body. Really crazy, some myths, some are facts. But basically they are very, very resilient to a lot of things. So even if we talked last week about habitat loss and deforestation. If these creatures did lose the trees, the areas that they're living in, they would quite happily move to the next section or even move to sorts of towns and villages and still survive and do really well there. So it is thought that cockroaches, there are thousands and thousands of species of cockroaches, it is thought that they will outlive humans on the earth just because they are so resilient to so many things. So let's find on the map where the hissing cockroach comes from. We had a look earlier over here, the island of Madagascar. So let's pop the picture onto the map. Fill that map up a little bit more. So the cockroach is home of Madagascar in Africa. So we're going to pop the cockroach away now and we're going to meet another creature and tell you all about it. I'm going to bring out one of our reptiles next. So in a sec, we will be meeting Gordon, who is our little leopard gecko. So here I've got Gordon, who is one of our smaller reptiles in Amazonia. Gordon is a little leopard gecko. So this is him fully grown. So you can see on my hand the size of him, he's not very big. And Gordon is not a rainforest creature. So this session, like I said, is just a fun interactive session, meeting some creatures that we've not mentioned in the video so far. So Gordon actually comes from quite a different part of the world. He would be found in India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, in this region of the world. And he's from a much drier and hot environment, so more deserty areas he would be found in. Now, if you have a think about where he's found in the desert and have a look at his colourings, he is a really, really good colour for living in these parts of the world because he's got this nice yellowy sandy colour with the dark brown mottled effect from head to toe, or head to tail I should say. So this is a really good camouflage for him. He's able to hide well in the sand and if there's any soil, leaves, logs, etc. And another adaptation he's got for living in the desert is his tail. If I just turn him around a little bit here, see if we can see his tail. So his tail here is quite long for the size of him. Now his tail is really, really special because inside that tail it is full of fat. Now in the desert, animals that live there often struggle to find food and water. So if that's the case, he wants kind of an extra source available, extra nutrients available for him. So if he can't find the food and the water that he needs, his body can transform that fat into energy, uses it as energy for the rest of his body. So it keeps him going much longer. And it's very similar as to what a camel would do with its hump or humps. So camels' humps are full of fat as well. And it means that the large animal can turn that fat into energy for itself, give itself some more nutrients until it can find lots of food and water again. Now, Gordon, his diet is mainly lots of little insects and worms. So here in Amazonia, he gets waxworms, little mealworms, he gets crickets. We give him a variety just to spice things up at dinner time for him. And he'll catch them on his little tongue and gulp them down as a piece of food, as one whole piece. Now, we've mentioned in our videos about some of the animals shedding their skin, and Gordon is no exception to that. So about every 4 to 6 weeks, he will wriggle out of his old skin, and he will pull it off a bit like a onesie. He looks like he's wearing a onesie when he does it. So it will just start to peel off as quite a whole piece off his body. And once it's off, he will actually eat his shedded skin. It's really good and nutritious for him. Whereas other animals like snakes and the spiders and insects that shed their skin, they don't eat theirs. But the leopard gecko, he will eat his shedded skin afterwards. It's very good for him. Now, if you have a look at his eyes on a close-up, you'll see they're very much like little crocodile eyes. he actually does something quite funny with his eyes to keep them clean. And remember, he's from desert regions, so if it gets windy and there's storms, he might be susceptible to get sand in his eyes. If he needs to clean his eyes, he actually licks them clean. So he can reach his eyeballs with his fairly long tongue and clean his eyes. We sometimes see him do that just if any dust has got in the way and got on his eyeballs there. So I hope you've enjoyed meeting Gordon a little bit closer. Now we have got a little picture of Gordon here, so we're going to pop this on the map. Let me just pop him back over there. So he comes from this region, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, around here. So let's pop him in that area on the world. And next we're going to be meeting another reptile, slightly longer. This one is going to be Milkshake the milk snake. So we'll go and meet her next. So here we bring you our last animal of this session. And here we have Milkshake the milk snake. You see she's a really beautiful coloured snake, nice and bright with this orangey red marking. And she would come from slightly above the Amazon rainforest. You might find of Canada, Central America, Mexico sort of region, and down into South America just a slight bit. So she's not truly a rainforest snake. She would be found in forested areas, but not really the true hot tropical rainforests we've been learning about. So milk snake, being a snake, is a reptile, same as Gordon, the leopard gecko we met. And reptiles, they're quite a unique group of animals. And one thing that is special about them is you might have heard the term animals that are cold-blooded. We're mammals, we belong to the group of mammals being humans, and we're warm-blooded, which basically means our bodies regulate our own body heat. So if you're really, really cold and chilly, your body will start shivering to maintain that same temperature. Or if you're really, really hot, our bodies will sweat, which also maintains the temperature. But reptiles, like Milkshake here, they can't do that. A snake doesn't shiver, a snake doesn't pant like a dog or sweat any heat out like we can. Instead, they are cold-blooded, which means they can't regulate their body heat. So to warm up, they've got to find a nice warm spot. Maybe in the wild, they'll go and bask in some sunshine. Here in Amazonia, they'll have heat lamps or heat mats to keep sections of their enclosure nice and warm. And if they need to cool down, they'll move away from those warm areas. So we give them the option here, if they want to warm up or cool down. And likewise in the wild, the reptiles would move around to a new environment as to what they want to do, if they want to heat themselves up or cool themselves down. So as I mentioned, the milk snake has got a really colourful pattern down its body. It's actually a very similar colour pattern to a snake called the coral snake. Now the difference is the coral snake is very, very dangerous. It's highly venomous. You wouldn't get me just handling it like I am doing with Milkshake. The difference in the pattern though is just two colours, where the two colours match. So here where it's the red and the black together, on a coral snake, it's the red and the whitish yellow colour that are together. So the colour is pretty much, it's the same coloured snake, but in a different order. So especially as the milk snake moves fast, it would be very hard to know whether it was a milk snake or a coral snake. So we call that mimicry, when animals mimic other animals to keep themselves safe, which is what Milkshake is doing now, pretending that she actually looks like a coral snake. So in the areas that she would live, she would find hopefully lots and lots of small birds and rodents to feast on. That's what her diet is. She is a carnivore, so a meat eater. And here in Amazonia, we feed her once a week on 1 or 2 small mice. So snakes don't eat lots and lots of food every day. Now, throughout our sessions, we've met monkeys, birds, bats, kinkajous. Those are animals, like ourselves, tend to have 2, 3, sometimes extra meals to that a day, every single day. But animals like the snakes, they can conserve their energy and they don't need to eat constantly throughout each day. So once a week, one meal a week is sufficient for Milkshake. Now you may notice she's sticking her tongue out quite a lot. This is completely normal. So snakes will stick their tongue out to basically kind of taste the air. They use it a bit like a nose. So when she sticks her tongue out, you might be able to see it's a forked tongue. It's got two ends. And this means that the snake is able to pick up smells on the left side and the right side. And when the tongue goes back into the mouth, it goes then to a special organ. The snake's got something called a Jacobson's organ, and the smells, the tastes it's taken in go to this organ and then travel to the brain and tell the brain exactly what the snake is smelling. So it's a really specialised organ, and that is why she's sticking her tongue out frequently, just wondering what's going on around her, trying to smell things out. Now, about every 2 months at the moment, Milkshake will shed her skin. So Milkshake is an adult snake, but snakes will continue to shed their skin their entire life. So they might get to their maximum size, but they will still shed their skin just to keep nice and healthy, especially if they've maybe damaged their skin anywhere, or also just to get rid of any parasites that they might have on their bodies. So it just helps like refresh their top layer of skin and keeps them on good form. Now, throughout our sessions at Amazonia, sometimes I've touched on whether an animal has bones or not. And you might be looking at Milkshake thinking, no, she's just a large colourful worm. Well, she is not. Being a snake, she is a vertebrate, so that's like us. She has lots and lots of bones. In fact, she's got many more bones than we do as humans. And if I show you now, so you can get a better idea, I'll sit this here. This is a replica of a snake's skeleton. So here it's not all intact now. It's fairly old and been looked at and poked at a little bit. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what a snake skeleton is like. So with Milkshake, as with any snake, she has got this long spine that goes all the way down her body from head to tail. Her head, she's got a skull, just like we do as well. The spine all the way down, and then all these tiny, very thin little bones are all her ribs. So she's got hundreds and hundreds of ribs. And in between the ribs are all her muscles. So she is a legless animal, but very, very agile and very good at moving around due to her flexible skeleton and all these muscles in between. So if you do ever handle a snake, maybe you'll visit us in the future at Amazonia and be able to meet our creatures closer. Some of our snakes we do allow the visitors to handle under normal circumstances. So if you do handle her, we always say just relax your hands, let her slither through, like she's slithering through my fingers here, because you don't want to squeeze her, you don't want to restrict her body, because you've got a danger then of actually squashing the ribs and bruising them, even breaking them. And just like with ourselves, if we break a rib, there's not really a remedy to it. You've just got to rest and let those bones repair themselves. So it can be very painful to the snake, as to any animal, if it broke its ribs. Although they are quite sturdy animals, we've still got to be fairly delicate with them, especially when handling them. Now, in our last video, we did meet Eva, our royal python, and I talked a little bit about them shedding their skin. So here, I'm going to bring out, just to show you again, we've got a huge tub of loads of shedded snake skin here. Now, with the snakes, as I mentioned last week, they don't wriggle out of their skins and leave it behind the colour like they actually are. So when Milkshake sheds her skin, it will come off a slightly darker patches where she's got these black markings, but generally it is always this sort of whitish creamy colour, and the shedded skin is very, very thin and delicate. It breaks very easily. Now, if the temperature, humidity and everything is right for the snake, and they're a healthy snake, they should usually shed their skin in one long piece. Occasionally we have to maybe bathe the snake, get it off the end of the tail for them if it's stuck on, or maybe off the eyes. Now, if you can see closely, snakes don't have any eyelids, so they can't blink, they can't shut their eyes, very hard to know if they're awake or not, or just resting. So when she sheds her skin, it comes off the eyes as well. So on our pieces here, in fact, here is a piece, you can see closely, you can see the eye caps, we call them. So just where the skin has come off the eyes, which is good. It means the skin's come off correctly. If not, again, we have to ease it off their eyes. Very important, particularly, that it comes off their eyes and off the tip of their tail. But it must come off their entire body, ready for them then to shed again in another 2 to 3 months. Now, I was mentioning that milkshake mimics what we call a coral snake. The coral snakes are very dangerous. They're highly venomous. Milkshake isn't venomous at all. She is a constrictor. So that means that she would, when catching prey, so if she caught a mouse, for example, she would bite onto the mouse to catch it, and at the same time, very quickly wrap her body around the mouse's body and squeeze. So it's like strangling the animal. So she'll strangle the mouse until it's dead or near enough, and then she can kind of slower go to it and just swallow it whole down through her mouth, down through her body. And she will swallow it. Every item of prey that a snake eats, they will always swallow it whole. Again, using all their muscles to push it down through their body. So you'll see usually a lump moving down as she pushes it down through her body till it gets to her stomach to be digested. So there we have Milkshake. I hope you've enjoyed meeting Milkshake a little bit more. Hopefully it won't be too long till we can have visitors back, and hopefully visitors meeting some creatures closely like this as well. So we're going to find Milkshake's picture just here, and we're going to pop that onto the map. So as I said at the beginning, the milk snake would be found Canada, Central America, quite widespread through this region up here. So if we pop her down sort of centrally Mexico area, there we go. So that brings me to the end of our final online session. I do hope you've all enjoyed tuning in every week. I hope you've enjoyed watching the animals much closer and hopefully learning some really fun facts about them. We have got activity sheets on for today's lesson as well, just as we have done different ones each week for you. Now, since it has been a very difficult year for Amazonia, as most of the world, most companies and businesses, if you would like to support us, that would be fantastic. And we've actually kind of revamped our animal adoption packs recently. So if you are interested in, it can be an animal you've maybe met a bit closer, learnt a bit more about during these sessions, or any animal that you can see on our website, you are able to adopt for 12 months for £20, and you'll receive an adoption pack full of facts and information, also some tickets to come and visit us at Amazonia. So please, if you are interested in that, please either drop us an email, drop us a Facebook message, and we'll be happy to process that for you. And that money does go directly to help the animals here in Amazonia. So it just leaves me to say thanks for watching. I hope you have enjoyed all these sessions, and we really hope we can open our doors to you again and see you soon. Bye from everyone here.